Well, good day, everybody. This is one interview that I've been really looking forward to with Heidi Schwende. For those of you that know her, she's one for not beating about the bush. Right? She's the lady that does some serious business, and she's been known really to change the lives of many of her clients and for the better. And I've had the pleasure of working with her for a while, so let's listen to what she has to say and see what we can learn from Heidi. So, Heidi, thank you very much for joining us today. It's really a pleasure for you giving up your time. And let's get started with tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are so that we can set the scene.
Okay. So, first of all, I want to say thank you, Francois, because much of my success is attributed to you because we've been working together. A lot is about finding the right partners. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Heidi.
I'm of Swiss German parentage, and I grew up in the Laurentian area of Montreal. It's about 60 kilometers north of the city of Montreal in the province of Quebec in Canada. And I worked in technology consulting for about 10 years after university and then relocated to Toronto in the late 90s, where I worked client side in digital marketing and marketing automation until 2013 when I joined WSI.
So, you already had some experience, obviously, with some digital marketing before you joined WSI, is that correct?
It wasn't actually digital marketing then because digital marketing actually didn't even exist.
Right.
Aging myself a little bit. But it was technology consulting.
Yeah.
So it was all about, so we did a lot of finance and insurance. That was, banks and insurance
Okay.
companies, this kind of stuff. We did a lot of systems integration, is what it was called back then. Electronic data interchange, which is now, as we know, something different.
Okay.
And we wrote methodologies. It was client service based kind of business, and it was an IBM spin-off because IBM was all about the hardware and so on and so forth. And the two gentlemen that I worked for, they saw an opportunity in consulting and they started their
Okay.
consulting business, and they wound up being one of the big three in Canada. So I joined. There about 125 people, and when I left to come to Toronto in the 90s, um, there were about 3,500 employees, and these guys were ready to retire.
Oh.
And of course, I wasn't. So onward and upward. We parted ways, and I came here.
Right. So, you obviously came across the opportunity with WSI. What made you want to become an internet consultant and join like a franchise actually?
Yeah, it's really quite simple. Um, I worked, as I said earlier, client side for big corporations. And I was really tired of trying to navigate the politics. Once you hit middle management, then, you're dealing with the politics of all your leadership, the C suite, and everything else. And then there was doing the commute. It was 3 hours a day of my time to get from where I lived to where I worked on a congested highway. It was really bad. And then there was the managing employees. That's not my strong suit. Marketing is what I'm good at.
Right.
I mean, I could do this other stuff, but it's not where my passion is, and it's not where my passion lies. Creating business revenue for businesses and, of course, myself.
Yeah.
But
Right.
that's what I'm passionate about.
Exactly. That's great. Yeah, I know that the travel is normally the first thing you realize when you're working in your own business and you can set your own time and you know you can really you can get a few hours back every day, which is like one of the values that I got out of like my own business. But
Yeah, you bet.
when you're looking at you being in this business now for a good few years, 7 years, what sort of value have you seen that you might have
Yeah.
derived from? Yeah, certainly coming from a big corporation, you starting in a different space.
Yeah. The biggest value, well, that's a pretty easy answer, actually. I get to become the master of my own destiny. I have the flexibility to do what I need to do. I'm accountable only to me and, of course, my partners, because this is something we all need to learn in this business. We're not doing it alone. And the people that we work with in the network, I know they're called, a marketplace and suppliers and whatnot, but they're much, much more than that. And now I can never be. So there were a lot of names for it over the years. It was downsizing, optimizing, right-sized, re-engineered, restructured. I can never be restructured out anymore. Believe it or not, I feel way more secure working as a consultant than I ever did in the corporate environment. One trip up of the politics, one change up of the leadership, and you're done. And there's your livelihood. And you're trading your knowledge and time for money. Whereas now, I'm leveraging my knowledge and time for good. Right. So working in a corporation, those are the most dangerous jobs of all, to be honest.
It's exactly, now that you say that, I just recall, I was also in senior management roles, and you feel you're making it, and then all of a sudden, bang, I was restructured out of the place, and it's like you've put your whole livelihood, career effort in it. And when you take the leap of faith that you can perhaps do it yourself, then you just got to find the model. I struggled a little bit in the beginning because I had a big team of 49 salespeople that used to work with me, and that. Then I was on my own, So, so it's always a challenge to do that.
Yeah, that was a shift for me too. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm all alone. What do I do? I've got to build a network of great people. But I've always been pretty good at that, zeroing in on the best of the best. And I love that I don't have a staff of my own anymore. Sometimes it really felt like babysitting, honestly.
Yeah.
Grown people sometimes just, give your head a shake. What's going on here?
Yeah.
So, and I have the backing now of a really reputable global brand. Mm-hmm. So, and I get to work with people whose job it is to be current and innovative and, moving all the time. Right. And I thought to myself, Francois, if there are smart people like yourself, like Jack, like Neil Lappy, like all these great consulting people have teams already that are already at the cutting edge, it makes zero sense to me to go out and rebuild that. Yeah. Why reinvent a wheel that's already invented? Just tap into it. And from the beginning, I always said I would rather make 50% of something than 100% of nothing. Right. You know what I mean? Mm. So that is high value for me. And believe it or not, I make way more money this way because I have no overhead, I have no salaries, I have small business expenses, comparatively speaking. So almost everything I bring in is pure profit. Almost. There's right. Taxes and all that kind of stuff. But my overhead for a business that is now my size is really quite low.
Oh, definitely. So you're working almost solely on your own, and I know that. And I mean, you've actually taken advantage right from day one, to use the network. And this is something that I've seen many new consultants who join us and try to do everything themselves, and then they struggle. And I think they need to use the system because, as you say, you can jump in and you can choose the top 25 consultants in this network, and they're really up there with almost anybody globally, and they're on your side, which is like amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. And that's one of the things that I took away actually when I was interviewing with Mark Dobson. He said to me, Heidi, the key when you get in this business is not to be working in it, but working on it. Right. And I remember that, and it resonated with me really loudly.
Right.
And I thought, yeah, I can't be working in my business. While I'm in it, I'm not working it. I'm not out there hunting, finding people who need me, who need what we do to make their businesses better. So, yeah, very important. And the network is everything to me. I hate calling them suppliers. My partners get paid before I do, because that's how valuable they are to me. I need these partners to succeed. So it's different. You're working with the cream of the crop. You're working with the best of the best. You're working with smart people, and you can bring all of that knowledge to clients every day. So it's amazing. I don't have to be master of everything. I only need to master one thing really well, and that's resonating with clients and being able to show them results. That's all I need to do. It really isn't rocket science.
It's great because you can really, focus on your strengths. And I think that's, what I suggested earlier on was when I started, all of a sudden I had nobody, just like me. And I was trying to do sales, which, I learned. I was never a natural salesman. And then when it comes to finances and looking after all that detail, it wasn't something I wanted to do, So as soon as you build a team, and I started in 2003, so it was quite a long time ago, and the network wasn't as established as it is today. But tell me now, when you think of leaving corporate and starting something on your own, how do you get influence like that? Because I was 30 years in corporate, and I knew I was never going to leave. I was going to die with a suit on. And then all of a sudden, I was thrown out. And so I was left without a job. So I had to do something about it. It wasn't like I decided I want to change. I was fed up, but it was fed up and gone at the same time.
Yeah. I completely understand, because I was tossed out on my head a few times. And it didn't take me very long to realize, okay, I'm in a job. I have about 2 years. Always be looking. So I was always managing my career. I was always looking for the next thing, because tenure is so short now. And I was tossed out on my ear, and it was scary.
Yeah.
I was a single mom, and this isn't in our plan talk, but it makes sense. Yeah. I was a single mom because my husband passed away when my son was 14 months old. Here I was, all alone raising this kid. I needed security. I had no backup. I had my family, of course, my parents. They were wonderful to me, and they took care of my little boy when I had to go out to work. But I couldn't be without an income, so I had to get smart fast. Yeah. And what happened was I worked in technology marketing for 10 years, as I said, and I worked for the CEO of an IBM spinoff. He was a huge influence and mentor in my life. He was an economist by trade. He was educated at Cambridge. A really, really, when I tell you, brilliant man. His brain was so complex, and he was so smart. And I learned everything from him. So he saw something that IBM didn't even see, and he and his partner started their consulting firm. So I helped with them writing their management methodologies, their development methodologies, and all of this. I helped with the first IPO. I ran events for them. We did a lot of event marketing. I participated, like I said, in the IPO. Did a lot of work with the acquisitions team, because it wasn't possible after a while, and we had to acquire new businesses to grow. So I really had the time of my life there, and I loved every minute of that experience. It was quite amazing. In 1990, we began hearing about this information superhighway.
Right.
And we began focusing on what was then known as that. And yeah, it was the internet. By 1994, when I came to Toronto, I could see the future mapped out before me, and I was determined that I was going to be part of that internet revolution. Now, a lot of people told me I was crazy because it was right around the time of the dot-com bust, like a few years before. But I didn't care. I knew at some point there would be a business case for this. So I went after it.
Excellent. So now I've worked it out. You've been with WSI for 7 years, and it's amazing how time flies. So
I know.
yeah, and we probably met way back 7 years ago, somewhere along around at one of the conferences. How and now that you've done this time, how do you what's your typical work week? Of somebody who's sort of you're sort of established now. So run us through your day and your week as to what it's like.
Yeah. So I became a consultant in 2013, as you know, and I really had to accelerate to bigger and bigger roles very, very quickly before that. And I was miserable, as I said. So my work week now, gosh, time flies, but it's really, really fun. If I can describe what my typical day looks like, you'll see how much better it really is in so many ways. Now, in the beginning, I had a moment of fear after I did it. I'm like, Heidi, you're smart enough to do this. You have the experience. You know what to do. And then the fear set in. Once I was alone, I was through training. I'm like, okay, I'm all alone. Oh my God, what did I do? Did I just screw up my retirement? Oh dear. How am I going to make money? I'm going to end up under a bridge, living in a box. What did I do? It was really frightening, but I worked through the fear. And now my typical work week is amazing. I think I told you a few minutes ago before we started that I was outside watching the butterflies in my garden. It's pretty amazing. I wake up in the morning and no alarm clock, so that's a big plus. How many times have we turned over and gone, oh no, 5 more minutes? I don't do that anymore. I wake up on my own. I get up, I get ready for work, I commute to the kitchen, I get my coffee on, and then while that's brewing, I commute from the kitchen to my office, which is about, instead of 3 hours away, 30 steps away, and go back. I get my coffee. My devices have all started up, and work will usually always start with looking at my calendar for the day, responding to things I need to action, checking, project progress, these kinds of things. And then you taught me LinkedIn, and I do a lot of my LinkedIn morning as well. So I will curate some content, I will comment on a few things, make some additional connections, send things out. I'm always active on there. I'm aware of my quality score. And I'm building relationships. That's my way of networking now. Rather than, going to events and in-person events, I network on LinkedIn, and it's great. Midday, I do the rounds in email to see what I need to action. I have lunch. And during lunch, I always do some business reading because I need to stay current all the time. I need to be able to stay smart so I can speak to people like you and like Jack to explain to them what clients are telling me so that we can strategize something together, right? And then I step outside in my garden after lunch, check out my flowers, my veggies, what I planted, see how they're doing, and then back to more sales activity. So I would say at the end of the day, I prep for the next day, and most of my time is spent in between on sales activity.
Right.
So filling the top of the funnel. So the funnel at the top is major wide, and there's lots of opportunity. And as you move people through that funnel, it gets harder and harder. The funnel at the bottom, especially in North America, is really, really small. It's very competitive. So you have to be able to do this at scale the way you teach in your LinkedIn training. You have to. It's the only way.
Yeah, it's a good message you bring through. It's try not to do everything yourself. If you aren't getting sales in, then you'll always be on the back foot. You'll be struggling and wondering like you were describing just now, have you done the right thing? Because, you're not seeing the sales yet, but once it starts to roll because you got yourself into a routine and it looks like you've prioritized your day around sales, so, and I know that from working with you. And I think that's like really, really important as opposed to focusing on fixing something. It's like, because, that's why if you come with it, if you join this business, a digital marketing business, and you start with a technical background, you're in danger of tinkering around with websites, and not really, being able to get the type of, revenue that you can because of the value that you can add.